Welcome back to Bunters Yard, and thanks for joining us once again. Today we are going to be weathering this curtain side Railiner from Hornby. This is the early model. There's some nice detail on the side. I thought we'd like to do these because it's quite straightforward and be simple to do. Now there's different ways of doing this. Today we can use an airbrush. I think next week we'll maybe try it with with paintbrushes and then maybe just oils, and we'll see how it goes. But there's detail on the side. It's a nice texture on the side where the curtain is, so it's going to take an effect quite easily. And we're going to use Vallejo Air Dark Earth, as you just saw there, and that's going to be our main colour, and we're going to do nearly everything in that. I don't think we need too many colours on this, so we'll start by airbrushing the siding. Now you can, if we'll probably do this the next time, just brush it on. We don't need to use an airbrush, but it's a lighter coat, so it's going to be easier to get off. But if we use a brush, as we'll see next time, maybe we might need something a bit more aggressive to actually clean back. But you can see just by rubbing that back, that's a pretty, I think, a pretty good effect already. So I said this before, but you could just leave it there and be done with it, and that gives us the nice sort of dirty effect on the curtains. Now, I've looked at lots of pictures online of curtain side rail wagons, and they're not particularly dirty, to be fair. But I thought just for effect today, we take a few cues from lorries and so on. So we're going to do a few other bits. Now that brush was, I've just hacked that down because I wear these tie down straps. There's always these little round circular marks where it's sort of brushed away the grime and left a little clean patch. So I thought if we just had a round brush, we just put that on and spun, you'd get that sort of swirly mark, if you can just see that. We'll do some more at the other end, and we'll just zoom in a bit. So you can see where it's sort of where the end of the strap would have been sort of flapping around, and it's just wiped away some of the dirt and the grime. Something like that. There you go. Maybe I'll take a bit more time next time. And as I say, they're not normally that dirty in fairness, are the ones I've seen anyway. But if you look at curtain side lorries, they are a bit more grottier. So we're using the tip of the airbrush, so taking the nozzle off, and we're just doing some fine strokes down, just to create some lines, some in between the folds of the curtain. So with that done, we want to just pay a little bit of attention to the roof. Now it's just this plain boring grey, so I've mixed up grey with a tiny bit of the earth still in the airbrush, and we're just going to rub it back as far as we can. It just leaves some of the colour left in those where the ribs are. So it just kind of highlights those a little bit, and this is dried really quickly. It doesn't normally dry as quick as this, so I have to be in a bit rougher than normal. But yeah, it's not it's really not a problem. So it's just kind of left that, as you can see, and then with that dark earth back in the brush, we're just going to accentuate some of those ribs. Just along the edge as well, and we'll wipe this back with a cloth in a sec. So going in a different direction from before, so we'll go side to side rather than front to back, and then we'll catch the grime will be sort of embedded into that top rail, into that gutter rail that goes from left to right, front to back, whatever way you look at it, I guess. And we do the same on the other side. Just going to concentrate on the middle. Don't want to make it sort of too uniform. Not going to do everything the whole length. And then the ends of these. Now the ends of these wagons, and most wagons are the dirtiest part. They don't seem to get any cleaning. There's nothing brushes past them, and it's kind of shielded from the downforce of the weather, you know, the rain. So they're normally a lot dirtier than the rest. So we'll put the first pass of this dark earth on. I'm going to clean it out as much as we can. A bit tricky here because the panels are quite small. You could use a Q-tip or like cotton bud, or we're just going to use a brush. It's just to have another effect, another layer of dirt underneath our top coat we're going to put on in a second. So just brush out as much as you need. Hasn't got to be too precise on this one. It's going to be quite dirty again. Go back over with the airbrush, and that just leaves, you can just barely see the first layer now showing through underneath. That just gives another element, another sort of texture to have on your model. So still dark earth from Vallejo, and I've left the wheels on. We'll paint the wheels while they're on. I find that if you get them spinning and get your airbrush on, they sort of you'll get everything covered anyway. So that's what I tend to do. If we're going to powder them, weather powders, then I'll take them off and do them separately. But just a single colour like this, we'll leave them on. And then all of the chassis and all the workings, the brake lines and everything underneath that, we make sure we get them from every angle. It's so simple to hold the wagon from one end, and then when you turn it around, you realise you've missed, you know, the leading edge of the brake shoes or whatever. So just make sure you do it from every angle. We'll colour in the tension couplets as well. Now, just in the centre, I've used this is a Vallejo Air black. It just adds a bit of a sort of brake dust, greasy effect in the centre, and just along the bottom of the rails and some of those pipes, there'll just be a little bit on there, just to give us a slightly different sort of coloration and a tone from the brown. And then just a touch on the ends here. There'll be oil and grease around the buffers and the couplings there. So for weathering powders, something a little bit different today. So just going to brush all that out of the way. I leave all the powders in the well once I've used them, and then we can introduce different colours. I've got a blend of different colours, so rather than just having weather, I've got you can see the rust shades in there. You might see at the top there's that green. This is this is called chrome oxide from Humbrol, and this is kind of simulates like a moss algae type of green, but really need to use a tiny amount, and I wouldn't suggest you want to use it neat unless that's the effect that you're after, but blend it in with the brown weathering powders, but just really a small amount. You'll see as it goes on that it is quite green, although when we varnish it's going to knock some of the green back. But trying to blend it in, and I'm just going to do a little bit here and there, not doing too much. It just gives that sort of algae kind of look. So this would be particularly good for relict, proper relict wagons. So coat of varnish. Now we're using Vallejo polyurethane matte varnish. Now this is mixed 50-50, so half and half. Put your thinners in first, and then just top it up and give it a good mix with the varnish. Now we use matte because it's obviously doesn't have a shine in it. Satin is a bit shinier, but we tend to use this one here. If you want to use it out of an air can, like a rattle can, then the Humble one is easy to use, so I'd suggest that one. But it does come out a bit more rapid and it's a bit thicker. So this is why I use the polyurethane one in the airbrush. And after a couple of coats of this, it will hold everything in, so the powders and everything are less likely to be scratched off and come off with any handling. So the last part we're doing on this is just the little bit of grease on the buffers and around that little coupling eye that's on the back of the wagon. Just put it on the top of the buffers as well, just around the back there. You see, and just a touch on the springs there. Now this dries to a gloss, as you probably know, so like a wet look. That's why we apply it last after the matte lacquer. So we don't want them this sort of shine to just disappear, so just a shade of black, so it looks like a bit wet. And there it is. There's the before and the after. Thanks for joining us, and I will see you next time on Bunters Yard.